Howdy, everyone. Welcome to Light a Joint with Ida. I am Ida Pearl Lee, and with me I have Rick Anstiss.
Mhm.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, you got it right. Usually between Tommy Chong and everybody that calls my phone, nobody gets it right. So you did well. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've asked you and I've practiced it like a couple different times because what type of last name is that?
Um, American Mud, I suppose. I believe it falls back in the English, Ireland or England
Okay,
area.
okay,
So, but yeah, that extra S. There's three S's in there, so it's
right.
a little weird.
Now, are you originally from Michigan?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Born in Southwest Michigan, Berrien Springs area.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, you have a little bit of an interesting background too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First of all, before we get into that, we're going to be smoking Mach 1, and you grew this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. This is exciting.
Yeah, that's a Capulator cut, which I believe is the one that won the cup in California, I think.
Oh, really?
So that actual
Just recently?
cut. No, it's been a while. There's always cups going on, those High Times cups, but it won one of them. I'm not sure which one.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's exciting. Wow.
Not from what I grew, just the cup did.
Just the cut. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. But it's still around.
Yeah, it's still going, and that's what I love about cannabis is these strains get created, and I think there's a big thing with these seed collectors right now is strains are going to be created, they're going to go around, they're going to get lost in time. Occasionally something happened in the grow, that strain's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But for these people banking these seeds, when something goes away for a while and they're like, do you remember? Yes, I do remember. As a matter of
Right.
fact, let me pop those.
Right.
So I think the industry's got surprises in the future that way.
Yeah.
It'll be neat.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So let's go back to you grew up in Berrien County,
Mm-hmm.
and your background is that you're a tradesman.
Mm-hmm.
You do roofing.
Yep.
And your family had a company. So how did that transition into like caregiving?
Well, cannabis long before it was a culture or a thing like it is now. It was already part of our culture, right? So your drywallers are always accused of it. Your painters are accused of it. Your roofers are accused of it. Everybody smokes a doobie at the break or lunch or whatever, right?
Right.
So it was already well into my life by that time in roofing, and often found to be my my medicine at the end of the day. Instead of going to get a drink or something, that was more of my, I'll smoke a joint and deal with the evening and then get up and go roof again.
Okay. So alcohol was never prominent for you. It was always cannabis?
Briefly when I was younger, I explored it, and it got me in trouble, like it tends to
like everyone
tends to do, give you bad ideas, and I made those choices and got my DUIs and did those things, and lost my license in the state for 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
Due to that. So
okay.
that makes it really hard. And so I realized that wasn't really for me. Once I got to smoking, I smoked a joint, and I realized, wow, the feeling that this one joint gave me was something similar to what might be 3 or 4 beers that okay, it's on me, I feel at ease.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, after 3 or 4 beers, you have to continue, and you always get to the point of 6 or 7, and
right.
and then you're not that other side of it, and you don't feel good again.
Oh, I've never looked at it like that before.
Yeah, I can never stay there.
Yeah, because I've recently stopped drinking, which I'm super thankful for. Mm-hmm. It's helping put a lot in perspective for me. But you're right. When you're out, for me anyways, when I'm out drinking, yeah, like I want to keep that same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it's hard though, because it's running through your blood system in a way where it progressively, kind of like edibles, right? Like you eat an edible, it's not doing anything, and then you eat another one, and then it punches you in the face.
Right.
It's kind of like that, or the drinker that's like, no, I'm just drinking beer because if I take a shot, it's over.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Right.
You just keep ingesting it, so therefore you're over.
Yeah.
What's the word?
Indulging.
Overindulging. Yeah.
So and with cannabis, you can do that as well, but you'll just wake up with, cotton mouth. So it's
right.
not the worst thing.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's interesting.
Yeah, and I've also found with drinkers that they don't always tend to like cannabis, not always, because most cases I've noticed that when I ask somebody if they've even tried it, they're like, "Yeah, I tried it at the bar one night." Okay, well, how many drinks did you have prior to that? Oh hell, I was 3 sheets of the window. I tried that, and then it made me
Right.
feel like shit. Yeah, because it accentuated your alcohol buzz into a new level.
Right, because you're just adding substance upon substance at that
Well,
point.
I think it's actually the cannabinoid system getting active when you're inebriated, drunk. I think it magnifies it, similar to like
Oh.
mangoes magnifying
Oh,
cannabis.
interesting. That makes a lot of sense.
I've experienced it. I've drank and then burned one and like, wow, that's a different feeling. Like I don't want to drink anymore.
Okay.
Like I think I've had enough.
Yeah.
Is usually
yeah.
the feeling I get from that. So I was like, well, if this just keeps making me want to stop drinking, maybe I'll just stop drinking.
Stop
and
drinking.
smoke,
Right. That's
So,
interesting.
but that's not from everybody, I suppose. That's
Well,
how it worked for me.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our own vices, and
Mhm.
it's just figuring out how to responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's a time period of drinking that your body can endure, and then there's a time frame of where it's going to be really hard to bring it back out of itself. Not that cannabis can't help and do that, but making those choices are big choices and really hard. Like you said, when you're ingrained in your habits and your what you need or what feel like you need.
Right.
Hard to change over, but I've seen it done. My wife, one of them, heavy drinker when I met her, and 7 years ago, and I was a heavy smoker, and I didn't drink, so we just kept smoking, and she just didn't drink anymore. She just quit.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and she's grateful for it too, because it always put her in a place of, and not in a good place, you just never wound up in the best place at the end of it all.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Interesting. So from now you traveled quite a bit too after high school.
Yeah, after high school, I moved down to Florida for a while, and then out west, and then out east, I married a girl in my hometown previous to my current wife, and we moved to North Carolina. We were in Texas and then North Carolina for about 5 years. I had my first child, and then came back to Michigan for a brief time, and then out to Colorado for a little while.
So what took you to Colorado?
My father had been diagnosed with cancer, and I knew the medical values of it weren't quite in our hands in Michigan. We didn't really know as much as they knew out there. So
Okay.
I moved out there and tried to understand it a little bit more on a deeper level from more of the people that were ahead of the game, so to speak, in that realm of things. And that definitely helped understand RSO. I had an opportunity to speak with Rick Simpson briefly. And,
Oh, wow. I bet that was really cool.
Yeah, he was in the States at that time. That was 2015. He was blinking here and there. Like I don't even know where he's at now, but he was really on, like, what you might say, the run. Like he was in Canada somewhere. You never knew where he was.
Okay.
Because
Strategic.
there had a reason
Yeah.
for it, I'm sure. But but he did tell me that 90 days, 60 grams. In his opinion, he doesn't feel that there's a cancer that can't be put in remission.
Really?
Yeah.
So, okay, so say that again. 90 grams.
90 days.
90 days.
A 90-day regimen with 60 grams of RSO.
Okay, so
his RSO, his variation of it, not the FECO or the other variations that people were making.
okay.
And they're not even really that variation. It's just the process, his process.
Okay.
What you're going off of.
So in that 90 days, what's the dosage?
It starts slow. It really varies to somebody's endocannabinoid system, but to achieve things, it gets aggressive quick. So you will start off with small amounts of RSO, grain size, adapt to that, which our bodies do. And I've seen it with everybody I give RSO to. they'll start off and they'll be like, wow, I was on the couch for like 6 hours and I was so stoned and I don't know if I can keep doing this. You can just stay there day after day. It subsides and you get acclimated in a sense. And it's not that you're, well, you are building a tolerance, so to speak, but it's a tolerance that your endocannabinoid system now is at a regulative speed instead of sitting idle. It's now actively going, and now your body is used to that.
Right.
And, so you can now ingest more, throughout, but getting up to 2 to 3 grams a day, and then it walks back down.
Okay. Okay.
Which is a lot.
That's a lot of RSO. Yeah. So that's essentially a vial for 90 days. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. And I give those out over 4,000 grams this year. And I focus on cancer and life debilitating things, such as a seizure patient, severe autism, cancer, those things are my focus, because I often have people with rheumatoid arthritis or something that's more manageable through cannabis or a joint or something else that they can find their means.
Right.
I'd rather have this on hand for those where I have to hand out 60 grams.
And that's usually when people are in dire straits. I would imagine, they've exhausted all other measures, and then they're literally looking for something to save them, which is so sad that cannabis has to be their last resort.
And I've dealt with that throughout this process too. It's bothered me, deeply. It's getting better. People are coming sooner and inquiring quicker. But that's what we're here for as caregivers. So there's not a way to describe somebody that you spent 6 months with that their doctors gave them a death wish, and have them hug and cry on your shoulder with gratitude that you were the vessel that brought them the medicine, that they made the choice to take, that ultimately put their life back in their own hands. And you just can't explain that. And I don't care what rec does. I don't care what anything does with cannabis. It's always medicine. No matter what human does anything with this plant, it's always going to be medicinal. 10,000 years of medicinal.
Wow. How's your dad doing?
He did pass.
Did he? I'm sorry to hear
that. No, that's okay. Yeah. And that was part of my drive, knowing that I didn't, that I wasn't able to have the knowledge soon enough. And even in that, understanding that my father's habits and things were too strong for him as well. So heavy sugars, lots of cigarettes. We live hard.
Sugar. Well, I mean, come on, sugar.
We live hard.
We ingest sugar at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Snacks. I mean,
America's horrible for it.
Yes.
Everything we have some variation of sugar in it.
Right.
And then now it's even worse sugar. It's some kind of
but he gave you the passion and the drive.
Yeah.
For where you're at today, and that in itself is incredible.
It is. Yeah.
Yes.
And
he was open enough.
He did try it, and he saw some brief relief there towards the end. But again, I didn't have the vast knowledge that I have now on it. And sometimes when we get to these cancers in their progressive states, it's not, I always hate to say too late, but it's a hard battle. So,
well, I feel like once we've gotten to past the point, I don't want to say of no return, but once the damage has been done, it's really hard to backtrack.
But
and it doesn't matter.
Bodies.
You're right. You're right. And there is
Mm-hmm.
something with what was that called? Those miracles that just happen.
Yeah. I mean, literally, all the so one person, for instance, that I had a patient. Their doctors were prescribing them a chemo pill, and they would refuse. They didn't take it, and they were taking the RSO. And when they went back progressively, the doctor was seeing progress and saying, okay, good, this is good. This is what we want to see, so on.
Right.
We got all the way back to the point of you not only no longer have your cancer is now in remission, but your diabetes have gone away as well.
Oh.
And I've had this with 3 different people, and it's got something to do with the RSO. And the people who
we're not doctors though, so we're
Right.
we're just sharing.
right, just my experiences.
Right.
But the patient handed the chemo pills, all of them, back to the doctor when they told him that. And
Oh my goodness.
he was baffled
Mhm.
by it, and then they told him that they used cannabis to do this. And we've had this in 2 different scenarios, and one doctor was baffled and upset that happened, and that they did that
Because they chose to not take
go against him. And then the
Okay.
other one was amazed and said that it doesn't matter what works, is that it worked. So there's a line there with our doctors too, right, of how they treat things and how they look at things.
Yeah.
And that mind is maybe opening up slowly as we get youthful doctors, younger doctors with different mindsets in there, starting to see some things.
Well, and our own personal beliefs do play a huge role in others, unfortunately. I mean, we do have those judgments and those concepts that we hold, we identify in them, so it's really hard sometimes to be open-minded. And then, because then we're confronted, like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. Why am I uncomfortable? Because I maybe do agree with this.
Well, how hard is it for a doctor too, that they come from a place of high education and they deal with people constantly, telling them that they read something, and
You're
so that's
right.
probably
You're
gets
right.
heavy on their profession as well, and closing their minds even. But all at the same time, it still baffles me how they go through all of that and don't know much about the endocannabinoid system.
Which is something that we're because we've never been able to do research, so we're just now on the tip of the iceberg, essentially. We're dipping our toes in, and
which I'm excited to see now that we have $40 million going to study research, and that was possibly going in a way, and now it looks like it's going in a better way. And I'm really excited that that's happening. And I do trust in Michigan University's abilities with what they can do. Their medical field has been outstanding for years, so we should get the best results.
We should,
we already know what works. I think I'm excited to see the results because I already know what most of them were going to kind of look like, for the most part. And I'm sure I'll have surprises as well. Like, oh, I was wrong about this maybe, but I'm okay with that because I got real science that said so.
Exactly.
Not me.
Exactly, because at least we'll have a platform. We'll have a place to stand from. And to move forward on. So.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like I said, as a caregiver, you kind of work with terpenes and THC values and CBD values to help somebody's ailments. But again, I'm no doctor. I'm no scientist, to figure those things out. So we get it on that level with those great minds. We'll be able to get it to a place.
How long have you been a caregiver for?
Just about since it started. So
okay.
Was that 08? Whenever it started, but I've been whatever you want to call growing. Prior to that, grew up on a farm, so we had 250-acre farm that my grandparents had right behind my folks' house. So with all the farming and things, there was little green spots in the corn late fall sometimes, occasionally. So, but that was kind of neat to grow at a young age and try to figure that out. Coming into it as a caregiver, like, okay, wow, just throwing it in the ground and whatever, it's not really like that.
There's a real science to it.
You gotta do a lot more than just that.
Right. And then when you're looking for strains, I'm sure for the different terpenes and cannabinoids, for certain cancers, and that's what the research is going to show too. That is exciting.
Rheumatoid arthritis, all kinds of things.
Right.
And sometimes a lot of these things are going to find themselves in the terpene value, I believe anyway. So we'll go specific, terpene value and then THC and CBD, I believe, are going to be the factors that accentuate that terpene. So depending on if you have 4% THC and myrcene over here, and you put them together, you're going to get this effect.
Right.
But if you have 27% THC and that same myrcene, you're going to see a elongated effect or maybe a magnified effect.
Okay.
And then when you add CBD to it, you're going to have another. I think of it as like a computer system.
Wow.
All these components are going to be able to do different variations, and it could be just endless.
Yeah, and because we all react so differently, it again, it's just going to keep empowering the patients, and to research their own medicine. That's so exciting.
It is.
Yeah,
and it is a good feeling to be able to take plants and things that you can have and do and heal yourself with it. Even a tomato, I mean, whatever, right? That causes inflation, but that example.
Oh, tomatoes do?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Nightshades, right?
Yeah.
Is that why?
Yeah.
Is tomato a nightshade?
I
don't
know.
So.
No, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I know that it's something to do with boiling it too. So like when you boil it, maybe it's not as, I don't know. My wife was telling me something about it.
So speaking of your wife, she makes her own tea. Yes, I'm super excited to try that.
Yeah, I'll bring you some. Yeah. She's known as Mrs. Fungal. So we like to play with the words, Mr. Fungi hyphenated, and she's a fun gal.
Yeah.
She's kind of getting into the herbal sides of things and the teas and the mushrooms and the medicinal values of like lion's mane and even the oyster mushroom carries, and it's a common one that grows on all of our trees, tons of vitamins.
Really?
The vitamin D that you get from a mushroom is crazy because it happens so quick with the sunlight that it's just enriched with vitamin D. It's just quick.
Oh, okay, because there's not a lot. So are mushrooms one of the only? They're not a fruit or a vegetable.
Right.
Are they one of the only things that have vitamin D in them? Because I know there's not a lot of foods that do.
Right.
So it's mushrooms. Okay, so that's what we need to eat in the wintertime.
Yes, they're good.
Oh, okay. I mean, I try to cook with them, but now I'm definitely going to step that up a little bit.
What we're trying to do too is create something a little bit easier for the home cultivation. So we've been seeing different boxes and already inoculated boxes and things with lion's mane that you can do. What I'd like to do is I'll go out and cut my hardwoods and cut small logs, and then you drill holes and you put wood pegs in with the spores. And then you just set it on your countertop and your oysters will start, and then your lion's mane will start, and you can pick off of it.
Oh my goodness. And then you've got your fresh mushrooms right there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're going to talk after this because I'm interested to do that. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. You've got a lot of things in the works. So how did Mr. Fungi come about?
Wife told me to quit roofing.
Okay.
She said it's going to kill you and we're getting nowhere. So
it's hard on the body.
Yeah. And I'm 5'3" and 120 pounds. So roofing is like every bundle of shingles is like throwing myself up on my shoulder,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So every 6 foot, 200 pound guy that's kicking ass, I got to keep up with,
Right.
So I'm done with that. There's a lot of that.
Okay.
So, but what she thought would be good to start off with was a consulting company. So I realized that consulting the woods of whether it be somebody's woods or woods of my own had some value. A lot of people wanted to know where the mushrooms were, what kind of all these other mushrooms, the times of year, where to find them.
Okay.
So that's what I'd do. I'd tour them, whether it be in their woods or my own. And
so you just kind of fell into your hobby.
Yeah, kind of. It was my passion, and I grew up knowing lots about mushrooms. And learning about them and seeing them in the woods. And then once the internet came, I was like, okay, now I know July, these guys show up. August, you'll be here.
Wow.
And then I just, obviously started eating them too. And it's like, oh, wow, this is great. And learning that out of 900 continental mushrooms, 700 of them are either medicinal, edible, or used as a textile.
Oh my goodness, 700 of them are usable and ingestible and.
Yep, our dryad saddle which is it's a kind of a hard one that grows on the side of the tree. You'll see, or it's also known as a pheasant back. But it's real rubbery, and they'll make leathers out of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I was on the hike the other day, and I took a picture of it. I'll have to show you after, but it was like this big.
Mhm.
I've never seen one
Cool.
like that big, on a trail somewhere that an animal hasn't
Right.
gotten a hold of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another sign with mushrooms. If animals and bugs are eating them, that's a kind of a telltale sign leaning you towards that it's probably okay.
Okay.
The oyster mushroom is one of them.
I wonder what mushroom I saw.
Yeah. The oyster mushroom will grow on the tree and it'll stack. But there's these little black beetles that go to it very specifically, and man, they eat it from the inside out, and they'll beat you to it.
Okay.
You'll be like, oh, I got a good one, and you open it up. Oh,
And there's beetles inside.
jerks, yeah.
Oh, really?
Which they wash out really easy too. But I mean, if they eat too much of the mushroom, it's
Right.
not worth getting.
Right.
So there's a little spot where you gotta like try and catch them, and then deer will do the same thing.
Yeah.
You'll go out and the deer will eat all the mushrooms off the log.
Yep. That's so
Hey,
cool.
That's nature, right?
Wow, that's really neat how you and then now you do more, you're a consultant too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I got into the caregiving side of things, and after doing that for a few years and really learning, then I started consulting grows and kind of now almost all things in cannabis, I can consult on some level.
And you were part of the 4th micro business in the state of Michigan too.
Yep.
What was the name of that?
It was called Transcend.
Okay.
And yeah, we opened that up, and it fell right on its face. And
you
it's
tried.
okay.
You tried
Yeah.
though.
No, it's okay. It came up in a bad premise, and we're having a lot of that in the industry, or things are happening that shouldn't happen, and it just fell.
Mm-hmm.
So things that are good will stay, and things that have real grit in the industry will stay, and then things that are outside that pocket won't be able to sustain.
Well, but it's also a learning experience too.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I have plenty of my own.
Well, honestly, the biggest thing for me is I was searching all over the state, trying to anyway, to what I had the ability to, for funding to do something in cannabis here,
Yeah.
with somebody here.
Mm-hmm.
But I wound up with investors out of Wisconsin that it's just the premise and everything wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't line up and didn't come off in the right way. So,
Well,
but like I said, learning experience, because
right.
now I'm not super worried about grows and micros now for as far as licensure. I'm more intrigued by the event license.
Mm.
So
Yeah, so you've got something that you're working on as well with that.
yeah, working on getting an event license and moving Big Cloud into that space.
Okay.
The Big Cloud Farms was a event space down in Southwest Michigan this year,
Mm-hmm.
helping caregivers and accentuating that program.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I want to move it into the metric space and find whatever way we can to bring our caregivers with us, however that can work.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll just see how that can work. But first I got to be in that space, and kind of what I want to do is the group wants to bring that culture that we provided
Mm-hmm.
this year.
Mm-hmm.
So having that feel, that vibration of the cannabis culture that it is. One thing I think is that we had a big benefit on is the camping. You want camaraderie, you want that feel,
Mm-hmm.
that hippie fest kind of feel or whatever, right? You wake up in the morning, drink coffee with somebody you never met before. That's how you do that.
Right.
That's our
right.
culture. That's always been our culture, is to blend.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the license events haven't really had that ability, I don't think, or maybe have not taken that angle. I think mainly probably maybe not have that ability yet to do.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's something that's moving forward that can
We're
be
just
looked
getting
at.
started, so
Mhm.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, that you're wanting to, branch into that. And we were talking too about, with you being a caregiver and consulting, how you're wanting to bring together groups and just, have that open forum and ask those questions and
well,
meet patients and understand, that, this is medicinal.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's a gap there still, because you have the 63% voted and you can take probably a percentage of that 63% that voted that still don't understand that medicinal real value. They just understood that it was there, right? And it's when you come together again that you get those kind of things answered, and you can help push back stigmas and ideals. So for instance, I think our law enforcement and our citizens have a huge separation amongst them right now, and cannabis again could find just a beautiful way to bring each other together in a way, if both parties are willing to do it though. And I've reached out, and I'd love to find a way to have that conversation, and sure, have some harder questions, but doesn't mean that they can't be answered. It's a harder question. Well, just ask it and let's get through it.
Right.
And then you don't have to have animosity to me and mine, and I don't have to have animosity to you and yours. We can be more copacetic and human to each other.
Right. Yeah. I think it's important, and again, it's finding those ways to create that space, for everybody to be able to come together in a safe environment and to ask those questions and, and maybe, it's starting small but I like where, you're going with all of your ideas and you're trying to bring everybody together.
Well, that's how we got all this. We came together, we petitioned, we voted, it was an issue. So it's still the same commonality thing that we have. We just have to keep going on it.
Right. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people kind of threw their hands in the air with rec, like, hey, cool, we've done it, and no, there's a lot more work to do for structure, it's legal and things like that, but you have to put it in its right place as it evolves, and we see things happening and things changing, and we have to it has more to it than just it's legal,
Right.
And I think they lost the idea of how important that card is. Getting your medical card is vital. Again, I don't think we'd have this law without that program and those participants. Whatever it was at that time, of 40 or 50, 30,000 caregivers and 100 and some thousand patients, but I think we're at 250,000 now. And I think that number, well, Michigan Weedsters and I have a goal, but I'm bringing them with me. 500,000 patients by July. I'm pushing for everybody to get their card.
How are you going to do this?
I'm going to cram it down their throat.
Okay.
and there's tons of reasons that to get your card. One would be some of these caregiver events and things like that, more exclusivity with some of those things, Vehicle City and some of those compassion clubs. You have options and different things. And the DUI factor. What you can't get is a DUI.
Right.
Right now, and with that thing with the state police and the testing and everything else, that's a safe place to be. And to not have to be concerned with that, whether you're high or not, because THC does hold in your body for quite some time, so somebody to assume you're, at a traffic stop could be subjectable.
But there would be reason though at a traffic stop to be subjectable, because I would imagine the police would smell it or see it.
Can't smell, no matters, no more a reason. They can't give that reason anymore. Inebriated in some manner, somebody slurring their words or acting off in a manner, then possibly. But I would hope nobody's.
Well, heck, you know what though? I've had a hard time sleeping the last, 3 months now. It's like every 2 hours. But I mean, there's sometimes where I'm driving and I'm just exhausted, and I feel like I'm in the lane swerving. It's like, oh my gosh, like the people behind me have to think I'm drunk, and it's like, okay, I take the wheel a little tighter, and I'm concentrating even harder, and so
that one's scary too. I've always had that fear too, because that's man, I get pulled over, but really in essence, I'm just tired.
And it's like, how do you explain that one?
Yeah, he shines his light in my red eyes because I'm tired, and I don't have my bearings about me because I'm so exhausted or been on the road for so long.
Yeah, because you drive quite a bit too.
Yeah.
And now you live down in Berrien Springs.
Berrien Springs.
Okay, and how far is that? Where is that?
Good old Mitten. So we're right across the lake from Chicago. So
so you're right
just
on the
south of St. Joe.
Okay.
Okay. South Haven.
Okay.
So yeah, right on the border of Indiana and across the lake from Chicago, which it's a really nice place down there. Hasn't always been cannabis friendly, but now we've turned a leaf, and there's a lot more education down there to be given. But
and that's
people are opening up.
That is beautiful. It really is beautiful to see people again, just in their communities opening up and not standing in the way of a patient receiving medicine. Yeah.
Well, and I think there's some work needs to be done in municipalities, cities as well, but in our health departments. So some of our health department leaders and things, that would be another one that I would love to have some kind of a sit down and talk with, just so the understanding is better, so we don't basically waste money in campaigning things that aren't necessarily true, or have any real validity behind them.
Because again, we have to empower our youth, with cannabis, being legal now. You're right. It does start in the health departments, because they have to, again, empower parents to encourage, them to talk to their children. I didn't talk to my kids. My parents didn't talk to me. You kind of follow suit with how you're raised. And it's up to, us to break that mold and to create that space for parents to have kind of like talking points. Would be a really good idea.
And if it can be done in the right manner. Some of them have a point of view right now that is a little obscured, and we need to try and help them become educated, so the information and pamphlets that are given have trying to say it nicely so it doesn't come off with ill will.
Well again, it's using the medicine for specific purposes, and understanding what it is that people want to target, or what patients want to target. And so again, it's just like explaining to your children, it's like, yes, this is a fun thing, but this is why for your age we want to hold off on it.
Right.
And I understand that you want to try it, but at the same time, these are the cons. And to empower parents again to have those talking points.
And then there's a fine line to understand that, where it's not about the community or the cannabis wanting to get involved with the youth.
Right.
The knowledge of them understanding it helps, but then also the parents and health departments understanding that there are some kids that need it.
Right.
Absolutely need it.
Right.
Of course, that's far and in between, but I say far and in between. I think there's almost 300 minor patients in the cannabis patients in the state right now.
Right.
So that's significant, actually.
But again, they have to qualify for certain diagnoses. Yes.
Whether it be, whatever it may be, but it's usually quite severe things. So you're having the parents and health department understand that difference, that, hey, on extreme levels and certain things, the youth very much needs this. But yes, on some kind of recreational value, the youth,
they need to understand,
need to wait as long as they can and get into, whatever world it is. For me, it was high school where it found it, or whatever. And that was only briefly because I played sports and didn't get involved too much. And then it was after high school where I was like, okay, well, now I'm free to do whatever I want. Or ruin my life and kill.
At that point, you're in charge of your own decisions, right? So now you do work with Julie Barron and the folks over at Decrim.
how did you get into that aspect as well?
Well, Mr. Fungi, the name itself
Right.
gets you there. Even through my caregiver times, most of the time, I would find myself diverting people's questions. You know, they'd be like, "Oh, you're Mr. Fun Guy. I see you hyphenated. You're the fun guy." Like, where are they at? And it's
Right.
like, no, that's not it. You know, I just moved into the caregiver space.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But so, you know, now I am opening up about it. I'm deep enough in my cannabis things and stuff that I can speak on some of the entheopaths and the psilocybins and Amanita muscarias that have medicinal values. And yeah, I love seeing these groups popping up because that's another reason why I haven't. It gets tiresome being the only one opening your mouth, and that I was so ingrained in cannabis that and have the energy to push on psilocybin all by myself and entheopaths. And I honestly don't know a ton about the other ones, mescaline and things like that, peyotes, learning about what they do and how they're used. But obviously, again, goes back to the shamans and the medicine men were the only ones that held those kind of things. You know,
Right.
now it's broad. So, and everybody has the knowledge and the abilities and stuff. So,
but
we need
again,
to have
it's
the right
finding
knowledge.
finding the right people.
Yeah.
To for us to be able to digest that knowledge. Yeah.
Right. And utilize it in the proper way. And that's where I think, you know, decrim and these groups we had this rally last week at the Capitol, the first one ever. Hooked a cactus up to a diode that allows its energy waves to be expressed, and it can be hooked to any plant, any mushroom, whatever. They all have frequency, and he hooked it to a peyote plant on the steps of the Capitol, and this dude just jamming out the guitar with this peyote plant as it sounded like it was playing the piano.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just the most
so cool.
gorgeous sound, and it's not like I don't even know how to explain it. Like, you'll have to look up some videos on it, but these things, these plants, they literally sing a song. Like, it's
so was he connecting like
vibration.
electrodes to
Yeah,
it,
so it goes
or-
into the dirt and then electrode to the cacti, and
so it touches the cactus, and then and then there's one in
into
the dirt.
to the root system.
Oh, interesting.
And it's literally, it's just like us, right? Our energy wave, or the earth, we have that thing, right? You know, and that's our energy force. It's very similar.
Vortex,
Yeah, it's very similar to that. And they're just catching it.
Okay.
And since we can't hear them, that device is able to.
And it expressed playing the keyboard.
Yeah, a beautiful tune. Yeah, very cool. And you know, that plant might be more of a longed out like violin sound. You know, like they're all different.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm beginning to understand what you're saying now. That was the frequency that it identified with when it was touched it. Oh, wow. And it sounded like piano.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas like this plant might have a screechy sound and a singing whistle, or they all got something different.
Yeah, because they're all variations.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
so
people.
Us. Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, I never. Okay, I didn't. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I've never looked at. I mean, I love plants. Obviously, I'm surrounded. I think I'm up to like 18 now.
But they're all alive and
thriving.
Yeah, they're thriving. Yeah.
You know what though? Not my money tree. I have to figure. No, it's losing leaves. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's the only one.
Fall? It's fall right now. Don't they lose their leaf?
It's been doing that since I bought it though.
Oh.
So I'm thinking something's wrong with it.
Could be.
I don't know. It's only
sometimes these nurseries are funny. Get a plant,
you're right.
Might have something, in the dirt or something.
Well, they're just, again, they're like we are. They're a life form.
Yeah.
I've had so much fun with you today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So we met each other. Gosh, it's been. We were trying to figure this out before about 3 years now.
Yeah,
maybe 4.
Yeah. Just briefly passing and bumping into each other at different things.
Right.
Well, you're everything. So.
Well, no.
You seem like you're at everything.
No, thank you.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good to see the community out, and there too, like I said, from all sides
Mhm.
is really good.
Mhm.
It's really good to see that camaraderie starting to occur. It's gotta happen.
Yeah.
And sure, there's going to be things in places in the industry where people aren't going to always line up, but this could be one of the biggest industries we've ever seen, and we got to be able to nurture it in a manner that
Right.
benefits this state and the people in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all I'm at.
Yeah, because we're in the infancy. We're just
Mhm.
starting out, and there's so much more to.
Well, the hard work that some of the people have made and done in the caregiver mottos of one, handling and helping everybody around them with
Mhm.
medicine, and then trying to create an entrepreneurship and an idea to move forward, whether it be getting into a bigger grow system or a micro grow or
Mhm.
a whatever consumption lounge, whatever they're aiming at.
Mhm.
And that should be accentuated and rewarded, not taken away in any manner
Mhm.
by any kind of structure or oversight. It should be rewarded in the ability for people to do that. Now, it is tricky for some of these people, I think, to roll over because we're coming from a very PTSD riddled space.
Mhm.
So we got people that have traumas, and the thought of getting involved and having to be oversighted by some authoritative, it
Right.
gets real hard for them.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, there are people making choices and saying, "Yep, I'm going to move forward and try." Since I want to be bigger and go outside and beyond what I can do for my caregivers
Mhm.
or my patients, I'm going to go to this next step.
Mhm.
And there are some that are doing it, which is good. I hope it works out for them. I think there's a lot of grows out there that are Michigan owned.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
We got veterans in it involved, and
Right.
Valor's one of them
Mhm.
that I really got a lot of respect for that, and hopefully moving that forward for our veterans. And I know Anton Harb is a significant part of all that work too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it is really nice to see, you know, the medical community opening up for the veterans.
Mhm.
To have access. Well, hopefully to have access to it.
Well, it's tricky, right? Because
It is
the
tricky.
VA doesn't recognize it or anything
Right.
like that. So these guys got to make a choice, right? Just like us,
Mhm.
in kind of a gray area. But life-changing choices like that, when it comes to the stories that I've heard of 15, 16 pills, like literally it's shown me the pile,
Mhm.
and now all they do is they got a tray and they roll up,
Yeah.
like, and they no longer feel like they want to harm themselves or anyone around them, and they're coping with their problems better. That's
Mhm.
another one that we could save lives with those entheopaths and psilocybin.
Didn't you say too that you were noticing as far as addicts go, that they're more drawn to, or entheogens help them combat those
Mhm.
addictions?
Yeah, extremely. Many opioid, uh, the speed, all across the board, whatever
Mhm.
is addictive, are finding these in the microdose variation to really put a permanent change on them. So instead of a methadone clinic that subsides your desire,
Mhm.
it finds a way to kill that desire and
Mhm.
end it. Like, and it's hard to explain, but it gives your body and your mind something that it doesn't have anywhere else. Yeah. And so for instance, when I take psilocybin, I often have the feeling, even in a microdose sense, uh, I'm not high or lucid, but I'm together with myself over here, over my shoulder, in a kind of a third perspective.
Mhm.
So as I'm talking to you, I can observe myself prospectively, and notice that maybe I just offended you.
Okay.
Maybe what I just said wasn't the right thing because I'm seeing myself from this,
Right.
and we don't always get to look at ourselves like that.
Mhm.
And that's really important because sometimes, like, people always say I'm mean. well, you call people assholes all the time, or maybe it's inadvertently.
Right.
Maybe your thought process and how you were saying something wasn't copacetic to their feelings or needs or of what they were expressing.
Right. So it's recognizing how you present yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you're addicted to something, if you can recognize that, then like you're going to just kick that in the throat. You'll be like, I'm done with you.
Oh,
I'm done with you fucking up my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? That's incredible and amazing to hear. And I'm thankful and grateful that those people are able to reach out, and get the help that they need.
Yeah. And it's a better help than the programs we've had in the state. I don't know exactly the exact program that we have for opioids and addiction, but I think 11 people graduated last year to my knowledge.
Okay.
And that's a very small number for a multi-billion-dollar funded thing.
Yeah.
So imagine that money onto something that's working, something that actually works in clinics that I've always had this beautiful idea of a clinic that people could come to and receive RSO for their physical withdrawals of crack cocaine or heroin. RSO alleviates those bends or those whatever they go through, those sweats.
Okay.
It
the withdrawals
them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it alleviates the shakes and all of those things. And then their mental desire and their addictive sense is aided by a huge THC dab. So something very concentrated, giant dab. And I've seen it time and time again, be on a couch like this and be with somebody that's all but ready to take your TV and sell it, and hits the dab machine and sits back in the couch, cries, and thanks you.
Wow.
Like, thank you so much for that happening, because now I no longer feel like you keep your TV. And that's huge. That's huge. And that's just cannabis doing that kind of thing. So again, with research and those real smart brains around this kind of thing and that kind of real funding, big funding.
Yes. That's exciting.
Do things.
Yeah. We can change. Well, we are changing lives.
Yeah.
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 Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Rick, I thank you. I love, that we were able to sit down and get to know each other a little bit. So that's the thing, we see each other, out and about, but that's just it. We're on all the time, and you're busy, you're doing stuff,
Quick
you're talking
selfie.
to other people. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have the time to just sit down and take an hour out of your day. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's good. And I encourage, more people to do so. Sometimes when you reach out and sit down with somebody that you're seeing a lot, there's a reason, right?
Right,
you're in the same industry, you're bumping each other a lot, you go to the same things or whatever, just take a minute and
meet for lunch or meet for coffee.
Chat.
Yeah.
Because who knows what comes of it.
Exactly. Aw. Well, are you, what else are you passionate about? What time do we have? Oh gosh, we're getting close to our hour.
Really, mostly I'm passionate about, as of late, this state. I've gotten really excited about politics and our state and what we're doing. So I encourage everybody to get out there and vote and be a part of things.
Yes.
Even if it's down, vote for your school board members, because they matter and they're running for a reason. Your commissioners, everybody.
Yeah.
Get involved, be curious about it. I'm excited about that. That's definitely a passion. Amongst that, it rolls right on into the health of the state, and our mental health and our physical health is a passion, because I've been combating it and helping it along with many other caregivers, and I want to see that just tenfold. Like I said, if we can go from 250,000 caregiver patients to 500 by July, we got something.
Yeah.
And what we got there is a big protection against anything that may come our way. When we go to the Capitol and speak against it, we have a voice of 500,000 people.
Right.
Not that 250,000 people isn't a lot of people, but is it enough to change the mind of our representative? Maybe not. Maybe a bigger number is, maybe that turns their head And it will, because again, that's kind of how this works.
Right, right. Well, I commend you, gosh, and all your efforts, and
Thank you.
yeah,
and I
and you
appreciate
saw
you.
a passion, and a need, and you took it and ran with it.
Well, I've been lucky because without my wife, I'd have never been able to do any of this. So she watches our children. She does all that grind
Right,
at home and
right.
behind the scenes, and not a lot of people get to see her or hear much about her, but they're excited when they do.
What is that movie where they said, that the neck is the wife of the head of My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yeah, right. Yeah. But honestly, I mean, if she wouldn't have told me to quit being a no good roofer and do something else with your life, I wouldn't have,
Okay.
necessarily. So, and she, without her, I wouldn't have had this passion and this drive. So
that's
I'm
awesome.
excited.
You have a partner
Yeah.
who supports you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So, and then of course our kids. So that's huge passion.
Keeps you
and
busy.
drive.
You have 4 kids.
Uh-huh.
Wow. And their ages are
14, 13, 5, and 3.
wow. Yeah. So you're all over the board.
Yeah. But it's great because they're all really good kids, and they're learning, and it's exciting to be a parent. To
How was it with
help
you raising your kids? Like, how were you talking to them?
wide open. They know exactly what I do, and I will
Okay.
never hold it back.
Okay.
Because like you were saying, most of us sheltered. I was put into a box as I was adopted, and I was cared for in a manner of stay here. It's safe here. You're good here. Stay in the box. Which of course that led me to tearing out of the box, and I have been my whole life. I've been more rounded than any kind of box, could ever fit for me.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I want them to feel that way. I want them to not feel like they're in a box that they see. If I can show them prescription drugs and all these other things that are happening in the world, there's no reason why I can't show them this thing that's helping tons of people around me. And they see me helping people and stuff, and how the people react and things like that. So they already know. They feel like it's a medicine. They know.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. It's nothing to hide from our kids at all.
Right. Right.
Not scared of them being around it at all. So.
Well, responsibly.
Right. Yeah. Not to use it. Right.
Right.
But to be around it, it's a joint on the table or whatever. It's not gonna. Don't let it rub on them or anything, like they're gonna get so high or anything like that. It's all that silly stuff. It's just a plant, and it's when you say, "Hey, you can't have this," is when we as kids go after things.
Yeah.
I mean,
even as adults.
Really. Yeah. So they see me indulging in being me, and hey, they are dad's this way or whatever. Well, I don't really, they're not that enthralled by it, to like, I want to go do that.
Right.
Usually not.
Yeah.
So dad does that. That's an old person thing. Maybe when I'm older, old people do that.
Okay. Yeah. Perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And I've seen it in Colorado. I've seen a big part of that. I watched some of the youth and some of the people, and that's what they were saying. They're like, yeah, our kids don't give a damn about it. Like, I smoke it, and they're like, whatever, Dad, can you put that stuff out? Like, you guys are so old, or whatever, right? So,
right.
So whatever. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, I wish you the best of everything and your continued success. And
thank you.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll be bopping around and seeing you.
Yeah, we'll bump into each other. I'm sure
yeah.
it'll be coming. We got, after election, things will start to happen again in the Capitol, I'm sure.
So. Wow, we'll get past the holidays.
Yeah. Get into the spring.
Right. It'll start popping again.
And, we'll be up there for something, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Alrighty, well, I'm gonna say goodbye for now. But thanks for joining us and taking your time out.
Yeah,
being here.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the flip side.